Let's take a look at how Inventor LT Suite can utilize product design data from Autodesk Alias as a wire file inside of Inventor LT to finish our product design. So first, let's go ahead and open up the file from Alias. And inside of Inventor LT, we're able to take this Alias wire surface model and convert it into a solid model. Now, following most product design or industrial design workflows, we want to keep this as a base solid and insert it into another part file before we start splitting this into multiple pieces and doing some interior work as far as the rib work, etc. So let's take in another part file inside of Inventor and use the derived workflow inside of Inventor LT to insert that game controller that we brought in from Alias. As this base solid is brought into our new part file, we can then take any sketch work we've done as far as hole locations, etc., and start placing this interior geometry onto this derived solid. So let's take our sketch and maybe create some holes or some screw bosses. And we can simply do that by taking an existing sketch and extruding it through the solid of our game controller. Once we have that in, let's hollow this out because it is a plastic part. So we can utilize the shell command inside of Inventor LT and go ahead and set a thickness, see our preview, and accept the end result. So now you can see we can continue doing all this interior work on this base solid. Next, let's do some interior ribs. Inventor LT Suite has an extremely powerful rib tool where we can select any shape or geometry from a sketch environment and use the rib tool to do extrude to next and extrude to extents to give us our final rib topology. Now that we have our interior ribbing, now we want to split this into an upper and lower piece for our remote control, because this game controller is going to be two separate plastic pieces that are screwed or snapped together. So just as we had done before, I can go in and I can import additional data. So in this case, we want to see how this will be split. Well, inside of the Alias design environment, maybe the industrial designers already determined where our parting line would be. So I can simply import again that Alias wire file as a surface and take that surface from my parting line and use it to split my component. Inside of Inventor LT Suite, we can take advantage of multi-body part environments. So here I can use the parting line surface and split this into two separate components. In my browser, you'll now see that I have two solid bodies that make up this same individual part file. So we can turn on and off these solids as we see fit. And now we can see all the interior work we did on the bottom half with our ribs and our screw bosses. Now we want to start applying some additional things from the design environment. Things like decals or different material properties, just to verify some of the manufacturability of this component and just to kind of pretty it up a little bit. So now we can take a nice Autodesk logo, place this in a sketch plane, scale and move this wherever we think it needs to go. And again, because we're in a reference or a sketch plane, I can move this orientation either with my scale commands in the sketch environment, or I can just eyeball it and just drag it where I think it needs to go. Once it's positioned where it needs to go, I can then determine where this decal needs to go on my model. So let's go back and look at our solid bodies. In this case, I want the decal to go across the top of the game controller where it's more visible. So I simply turn back on the top of my game controller using my decal command inside of Inventor LT. I can simply map that decal to my top surfaces and then orient it in such a way to really highlight the logo. Now let's take a look at some of our different environments inside of our Inventor LT Suite. One of those is a photo rendering environment called Inventor Studio. So inside of this environment called Inventor Studio, I can take all of my material properties, lightings, and decals and simply render this image. So here you can see I can choose my different cameras, lighting styles, scene styles, how I'm going to render this file, and I can also choose a standard output size and output type. Once we hit the render button, we get a nice preview of what our rendering is going to look like. And once this render is complete, we could save this off. So here you'll see a nice rendered image we can give to product marketing or to our customer. And this is how you can take an Alias design file inside of Inventor LT for your product design needs.